Welcome back. Now before I get started, I want to take a quick second and shout out to one of my youngest viewers that I am aware of at least, a young man named Spencer. Your mom tells me you love watching these videos while you're waiting for the bus first thing in the morning, and I gotta tell you, I am so thrilled that you're enjoying these and that you're coming along for the ride. So thank you again, Spencer. I hope you enjoyed today's video where we're dyeing Stand Tall. Alright, so we've already got the yarn in the pot. First thing we're going to do is we're going to create a little bit of a valley. What we want to do is put a bright color into the center, and then we're going to put some grays on the outside. Now keep a close eye on this orange. It's kind of cool because as it strikes, it'll actually begin to turn more towards the peach side of things, the pink side of things. And that is because we've got a couple different dyes in the jug itself. So we've got a little bit of an orange and we got a little bit of a pink. And basically what we're trying to create is a peach. And as it's striking the yarn, the orange hits first, it really shows up, and then the peach kind of hits second. It's kind of cool to watch. I've got a couple different dyes that do this. They're like color changing dyes as they hit. So one thing you want to do when you're mixing new dye is throw it on, give it a couple seconds to make sure that it's actually going to end up being the color you want it to be. Sometimes dyes change colors in the pot. Sometimes it's within, 5 to 10 seconds. Sometimes it's a minute later, but it's kind of one of those things you got to keep an eye on. So this one here, when you're doing the orange and the pink, they both strike at different times so you can get a variance in color. So one thing you want to do, make sure you get it mixed in nice and quick, or don't mix it all, one or the other. But just kind of, stay as consistent as you possibly can with that portion of it. So now we've got some grays on the outside. This peach and this gray really go hand in hand together. I've said before that pinks and grays go really well together. Well, peach is kind of a shade of a pink. So it also pairs really, really nice with that mouse gray that we got going on. Now, this is all cooked off. We're going to take and get it flipped over here real quick. You can see there's a whole lot of white on this side. That pink kind of came through really nice, but that gray didn't go very deep into the yarn. So that's why it's a good idea to get it flipped and dye the other side. Now on this side, we're going to hit it up with a little bit more towards the orangey side of the peach. And you can see, again, it hits and it's orange, and then it just kind of fades over into the peach side of things. That's why I'm saying you gotta make sure that you mix your dyes, throw them in, and then watch what they do. On the bottom side here, we've got a little bit more towards the yellow side of things. It's still a peach color, so we got some golden yellow, we got some pink in there, and then just a little bit of sun yellow. Center, exact same thing, just a little bit lighter in color. Now we're gonna get this pushed down here real quick, get it mixed up. What we're also going to do here is I want to throw a little bit of black speckling in here. Not a ton because it's a very light color. Like we really don't want to overwhelm the pink in any way, shape, or form. But I just want to give it a little bit of depth. So we're going to throw some black sprinkles. I believe this is a charcoal that we're going to take and sprinkle into the middle here. I do have a couple other blacks that I like to work with. Not necessarily for sprinkles. So like a mouse gray is very, very powdery. The charcoal has it's a little bit more grainy, almost like sand, so it really speckles quite well. And then we've got a black, but when the black hits, it is very overwhelming and it will consume the pot if we were to take and use a black. Another cool thing with the charcoal is it will drop and it takes a couple seconds for it to actually melt into the yarn. I say melt, it's not really melt. It just basically mix up with the water that's already in the pots. So that's one of those things you got to play with when you're working with speckles, especially when you're working with charcoal speckles. They will drop into the pot and you'll be like, oh, there's not enough. And then you'll add a little bit more. And next thing you know, all you have is just black yarn. So keep that in mind as well when you're speckling. Take your time. Watch how it hits the yarn, get to know your dyes. I'm telling you, it'll make a world of difference. Cool thing about the lighter colors is these pots are clean. We did cook this off on the second side for about 15 minutes just to make sure that everything was set correctly. The last thing I want is that pink to take and bleed out into anything. But this water comes out crystal clear with the exception of the steam hitting the camera here. But there is no dye left whatsoever. It is absolutely crystal clear. Over to the twister. The Hank twister, of course. This here is our fingering weight. So we'll get this twisted up. One thing I want to showcase here is, well, not that. Sorry. Let's push the pink a little bit more towards the center. That basically came out straight gray. That's not what we're looking for. The focal point of a twisted Hank seems to be that bottom center. So I want to make sure I get as many of the colors as I possibly can into that bottom center, making sure that everybody sees what the yarn's all about in the smallest area possible. So we've got that pink, we've got that gray, we've got just the tiniest little bit of that black speckling, and we want to showcase that as close to the bottom of that hank as we possibly can. Moving on, we have our DK weight. A little bit lighter. Not much. It's pretty on par with our fingering weight. Both of them are 80/20 merino nylons. The DK weight usually comes out just a little bit whiter, or a little bit lighter, if you will, than the fingering weight. This one's no exception. It does seem to be just a shade lighter, like not a ton. It is very, very close. However, our worsted weight, which I'm going to twist up next, really took that peach color like you wouldn't believe. Same dye, same pots, same batch, but for whatever reason, this 100% merino worsted weight really took the colors on quite well, and I'll showcase that as soon as we get into the light box here. We'll get this twisted up real quick. Again, making sure all those colors are in the bottom of the yarn, and you can even see right now, like, look at that color saturation. The peach really came through. It's almost like the pink hit and stuck a lot harder than it did in the other bases. It tends to be just a little bit brighter here. So first up, we got our fingering weight base. Nice, beautiful pinks and grays and peaches. Next to that, we're going to take and toss our DK weight. Now, as you can see, there does tend to be just a little bit more white in this DK weight than the fingering weight. It's not a ton. Like, the colors are really close. I'm not seeing a huge difference there. But look at this worsted weight. Like, the pink that hit and struck is just so much more vibrant than I expected. And even with the peach, like, look at that peach, that orange. It just really came through on this worsted weight as compared to the fingering weight and DK weight. Not normal in any way, shape, or form. Usually my fingering weight, my worsted weights are hand on hand. And look, I've got fingering weight on both sides here. So fingering, worsted, fingering, DK. And that worsted just really brings those colors out. So quite a difference there. I was not expecting that in any way, shape, or form. We should get it into the swatcher though. So this one here was a 33%, one third. And you can see we're just getting a little bit of spiraling in the swatcher when we're talking about 44 stitches. And that's, if you're working with a sweater or a cardigan or a blanket or something like that, you're going to get something completely different than what I'm getting. But in the round, 44 stitches, I'm seeing just a tiny bit of spiraling. It's still a really beautiful colorway. It's not as highly variegated as some of my colorways tend to be. So that's something to keep in mind as well. We've got a little bit of this black speckling coming through. I'll get it into the light box here. It'll showcase just a little bit more. You can see those black speckles are coming through, but for the most part, we've got some gray hitting, some pink hitting, and then we've got those peaches. And you can kind of see the stripes coming through. Again, if you're working with a pair of socks, you might see that spiraling a little bit more. But if you're working with a sweater or something like that, it could just come across as completely variegated. So all depends on your project. Into the Umbrella Swift here. We've got 2 ties on this worsted weight base. Time to cake it up. So one of these is the 4-strand. That is the start of your hank, the end of the hank, and your tie wrapped around in the center here. You can see it twisted around. The other one is only 2 strands, and that's basically the tie tied to itself. Get this fanned out, tied on. There we go. Give it a quick spin. I generally like to start with the tie itself. I don't like grabbing the start and the end of the hank, just so that when I cut it, I can just work with the 2 ends and not lose them. Every once in a while, for whatever reason, I'll cut the 4-strand, and then I'll flip the Umbrella Swift around, and I'll lose one of the ends. It just disappears on me. I don't know where it goes, but it just magically disappears. So for me, I like to take and cut this tie second, to make sure that I am just basically working with the start and the finish and the tie, and I'm not losing any ends. You see how it kind of flips into the back there? I think that's what happens, and it just disappears. I can never find it again. It's just magically gone. So this one here, you can see it flips around the back. It's on the back of the hank itself. Not necessarily the back of the hank, but from this perspective, it's on the back of the hank. So I'm going to flip it around. We're going to tie that off. This one here is on the front. It's not tangled up in any way, shape, or form. That's the one we're going to use in the caker here. So get this kicked up as fast as we can possibly get it going. Of course, you don't want to do that right off the bat. We're going to gently speed up the machine, the caker, of course. Get it twisted up into the light box. I'm not going to make you wait too long. As satisfying as caking is, I know my time here is limited. So into the light box. This is a beautiful, beautiful cake. I absolutely love how the colors kind of played with each other here. And we can see there's nice saturation from the inside of the cake to the outside of the cake. Everything turned out absolutely beautiful. We got black speckles on the outside, black speckles on the inside. Another wonderful colorway. Everything worked out. Yay! All right, so one thing everybody's been asking me for is crocheted swatches. Can I crochet? Yes. Am I slow? Extremely. So I don't know if I'm going to hit up every single colorway, but I figured, you know what, it's time. I can hit up a little bit of a crocheted swatch for you. It's not huge, but at least you can kind of see how the colors are playing here, depending on your stitch, depending on your gauge, depending on your project. Things are going to be different, but here we go. Crocheted swatch. You can see how those colors are playing together. Now on to my favorite part of these videos, the pairings. Up first, we have that pinky colorway in all its goodness. Stand tall, of course. Beside that, we have some pink lemonade, a little bit of yellow play in there. That's going to come in when we move the other direction as well. So we've got a nice bright pink in pink lemonade. Beside that, we've got behold, 2 words. Well, 1 word hyphenated, but behold. So we've got some dark grays in there, really pair up nice with stand tall. And those pinks and yellows pair really, really nice with pink lemonade. Up beside that, we have golden prairie, which has got a little bit of that pink, a little bit of that gray, and we're moving a little bit more towards the orange side of things. Up next to that, I have a wonderful colorway called Blazing Birch. If you haven't seen this one in person, it is amazing. These videos, the photos, they don't do it justice. You need to see this one up close. Blazing Birch is an incredible colorway. Been with me for a long time. And then up beside that one, we have Pumpkin Spice. That's one of our newer colorways, but I find that that orange really pairs up from Blazing Birch. So across the board, a nice pink to darkish brown orange fade. I love it so much. On to the semi-solids. Up first, of course, we have Stand Tall. And then beside that, we're going to move into Dusty Rose. I haven't got to feature this one before in any of my pairings, so it was quite nice. It is a little bit of a darker pink. It's Dusty Rose. It really is. And then up beside that, we have Mouse Gray. I think these 3 are pretty much bang on. If you were looking for a 3-skein set, this is the direction I would go, at least for the semi-solids for sure. Up beside that, we have one that I don't think I've ever featured, which is Watermelon. It is a bright, bright pink, and it is stunning with this set. So moving from the Stand Tall to the Dusty Rose to the bright pink of Watermelon, a wonderful set. Of course, we've got Ecru Undyed, which pairs up quite nicely with the whites in Stand Tall. Also pairs quite nicely with the Mouse Gray there. So if you're looking towards the gray side of things, and if I'm going to keep it on the safe side of things, I would stick with the charcoal. It matches pretty much everything. It might be a contrast, it might be a match. Charcoal is one of those things that you just have to have in your arsenal, for sure. It is time for the big reveal here. So we've got the pinks and the grays and the black speckling and the peaches of Stand Tall. An absolutely beautiful colorway based on some flamingos. Frolicking in the water, if you will. As always, we have a swatch available on the website. Last photo of every single listing, that is a knitted swatch. And there's that big reveal. Look at them flamingos. Absolutely beautiful. I love this colorway so much. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for watching another video. We'll see you again soon.